What's going on, people? And welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football Busters podcast. Today is Thursday, December 1st, officially in that holiday season. My name is Will. Not joining me today is my co host Eric. Unfortunately, again, he's feeling under the weather today, so I'm going to be headlining the show, I guess, just steam rolling through it. We're going to get into our week 13 start sits. Usually we do these with like sort of a costume challenge, stuff like that, but since Eric isn't here and last week we tied, we didn't really know how to handle that situation anyways. It's probably for the best. So I'm going to be rolling solo through this. Eric still provided the list of sit starts for me. I'm going to go through this list and pretty much I'm going to pick the ones that I would pick. And if I get a majority of them right, obviously I'm in the clear. If I don't get a majority of them right, I'm going to have to do some sort of a forfeit, probably some sort of a hot sauce, something of that nature. Just to try to keep things fun for you guys, and keep some sort of stakes to this. So I do have to, pay attention and do this correctly. So going into week 13, we've got two notable bye weeks. We've got the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers. So obviously, if you have any of those players or you're heavily invested in either of those two teams, hopefully you're not heavily invested in the Panthers. You're gonna have to prepare for some bye weeks. Nothing too crazy, not like Bye-Mageddon was. So we're gonna go ahead and start through this list. And starting at the QB spot, we have Lamar Jackson against Denver or Trevor Lawrence against Detroit. Now, Lamar Jackson has seen his struggles this season. He's touted as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I still think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but this year hasn't been super successful for him. The team's seen a lot of injuries in the wide receiver department as well, with Rashad Bateman being done for the year, stuff of that nature. And Denver, as a defense, is no slouch. And we've got Trevor Lawrence coming off of a really, really good week. And he's going up against a pass defense that is one in the bottom of the league with the Detroit Lions. Now, the question here is, do I trust Lamar Jackson? Do I trust Trevor Lawrence more? And in this matchup, I'm actually going to go with Trevor Lawrence. Lamar is really good, but he hasn't had a whole lot of games where he's actually scored over 15 fantasy points. And when he does, it's still sort of by a slim margin. And like I said, he's not working with a lot over there. Like, he is immensely talented himself, but they have not built that team correctly around him. Whereas Trevor Lawrence, I think he's got all the pieces around him to succeed, especially against this defense. So I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence as the nod there. The next one we've got Tua Tagovailoa for the Dolphins, of course, against San Francisco, or the tickler himself, Mr. Deshaun Watson, against the Houston Texans, which is so crazy to see that matchup's going to happen. When it comes to this, I was actually, I've been starting to get into sports betting a little bit just because it just came to Maryland. It's new online and whatnot. And with Tua and the Dolphins, the 49ers are actually favored in this game right now. And I think that's an attribute to how good their defense is. Now, while I think the Dolphins' offense is really good, right, I could very well see this being one of those games where it's like a 13-6 or 13-3 win for the Dolphins, or if they end up winning the game at all. And just not a very fantasy viable day, especially for Tua. Even last week, he had a good week, but he didn't have to do much. They scored 30 points and he only threw one touchdown. Whereas I feel like Deshaun Watson, as morality aside, Deshaun Watson is an extremely good football player. Anytime he's been on the field prior to this season, he has been a top 5 QB in fantasy, or at the very least, top 7 QB in fantasy. It's just, do I think he's going to be rusty coming into this first game? Yes, but is there a better team to be rusty against the Texans? I'd say no. So I'm going to take the tickler, as much as I kind of hate to say it. And I know Eric put this guy on here on purpose, so appreciate you, bro, if you're watching this. Going into the running back position, we've got Latavius Murray against Baltimore or Brian Robinson against the Giants. I'm a big proponent that for Brian Robinson, these last few weeks have sort of been his preseason, and now he's finally getting into the season. And he looked really good last week. That was his most efficient week by far. I think it was like 18 carries for 105, or I don't know. I'm just talking off the top of my head. But Latavius Murray, he's been somebody who has been heavily featured in Denver's offense. Usually if they score, he's the only one that's scoring out there. But I have faith in Brian Robinson and the run game against this Giants front that really isn't all that great against the run. They haven't been amazing against the run at all. Whereas Baltimore's front seven have actually been pretty decent against the run. I wouldn't say they've been great, but they have been decent at the very least. And honestly, I think Brian Robinson is better than Latavius Murray. So I'm going to take Brian Robinson in this situation, and we're going to keep on moving forward to the next matchup. We got Mr. Damian Pierce against the Cleveland Browns or Alvin Kamara against Tampa Bay. Again, I can see why Eric put these two together. Alvin Kamara obviously saw a lot of struggles last week against a good run defense, and Damian Pierce has seen a lot of struggles for the last couple of weeks. We thought he was matchup proof. Turns out that's not really true. I think he's got like 15 carries for 16 yards in the last 2 weeks, so he's been pretty abysmal. Alvin Kamara's story's been kind of the same, to be honest with you. The issue here I have is I think Cleveland's front seven is better than Tampa Bay's, but it's just kind of weird because Tampa Bay's always been known as like that sort of elite run defense, but I really don't know if they've been that this year. I'm gonna actually take a look at defenses against the run real quick, and I'm gonna keep talking. I don't really feel like having to cut this up too much. So taking a look at this, we got Tampa Bay on this list coming in at. No, I don't want that. Tampa Bay is actually at 20 on this list. In prior years, they were usually the 1 or 2 spot. They're actually at 20 so far this year. And Cleveland is, like I said, not great either, 23. So two not very good run defenses. Do I think Damian Pierce or Alvin Kamara? Being honest with you, I might have to go, and it's a crazy argument. I'm going to go pedigree on this one. We'll go with Alvin Kamara. Damian Pierce, undrafted, hasn't been performing as of late. I don't know how much confidence the team has in him. I know they still have been using him a good bit, but I don't know. He hasn't really been getting it done lately. And Alvin Kamara is still Alvin Kamara at the end of the day. He's proven and he's tested. And Tampa Bay really isn't all that great. So, yeah, I'm going to go Alvin Kamara here. Even though Damian Pierce, I do like Damian Pierce, and I hope he bounces back. I'm just not sure if it's going to be this week. Next up in the wide receiver section, we've got Terry McLaurin against the Giants or Treylon Burks against Philadelphia. Now, this is interesting because Terry McLaurin, I feel like the Giants secondary isn't that great. Philadelphia's secondary is obviously really good. Now, Terry McLaurin has sort of that boom or bust where he's either going to have a really, really good game, he's going to be super involved, or the team's not going to have to do too much. They could lean on the run again and they'll just be fine. Or Treylon Burks. Oh, man, this is actually kind of tough. Because Treylon Burks hasn't really played like a full slate. He hasn't had a full workload since he's been injured. I don't know if he's had a full workload this whole season. But even though he hasn't had it, he's still been the most targeted player on the team. And I feel like Philly, they're one of those teams that puts up points. They can put numbers up on the board, and that's gonna cause Tennessee to have to keep throwing the ball. And I think they're gonna have to keep throwing the ball to Treylon Burks. So as much as I love Terry, and I feel like he does have a higher ceiling, I feel like Treylon Burks might even be the safer floor play. So I'm gonna go with Treylon Burks against the Philadelphia Eagles, and we're gonna stick with that. Moving into the next matchup, we got Zay Jones against Detroit or Michael Pittman against Dallas. Now, this is another really good one because Dallas's defense is really good. They've been performing extremely well this year. Detroit, not so much. Zay Jones coming off a monster game last week. What was it, 11 catches, 145 yards? Something insane. Michael Pittman, I think it was 7 catches for like 60-something yards and a touchdown. So Michael Pittman's still extremely involved in this offense, more so than he was even during the Sam Ehlinger days. And they said that they're going to keep Matt Ryan at quarterback, so that rapport should continue. It seems like Paris Campbell was just a flash in the pan, and Michael Pittman is the alpha in this offense. So we'll see if that trend sort of continues. Zay Jones has been sort of on and off as the alpha. I don't think they really know who the alpha is in this offense yet. But I know that last week, in terms of production, Christian Kirk's numbers were down. Zay Jones were way up. And honestly, I see that kind of curtailing at some point. I don't see Zay Jones having that huge of a game again, especially if Christian Kirk does start to get more involved again. Whereas with Michael Pittman, I think he's always going to be involved. So with that being said, I'm going to stick with Michael Pittman here. I do like Zay Jones. I think that if you are in need of wide receiver help and Zay Jones is on the wire, you should go pick him up. But I like Michael Pittman a lot, and I think this is a game where they're going to have to throw the ball a good bit. I don't think they're going to be too successful on the ground, so Michael Pittman should get a good amount of work there. Next up in the flex, we've got Cortland Sutton against Baltimore or Jeff Wilson Jr. against San Francisco. This is a disgusting matchup, absolutely disgusting. I'm going to go, and I hate to say it, I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton here. I don't like Jeff Wilson against the San Francisco front. That San Francisco front is stingy. They are really good. Whereas with Cortland Sutton against Baltimore, I think they're going to have to throw the ball a good bit to stay in it. Cortland Sutton has still found a lot of usage, just not a whole lot of production because they haven't been scoring through the air. But I think that he's a safer play than Jeff Wilson because San Francisco is the number one rush defense for sure. And I just I don't know, I don't trust it. So yeah, I'm going to go Cortland Sutton against Baltimore. Next matchup we actually got Eric popping into the document. That's kind of tight. We've got Isaiah Pacheco against Cincinnati or George Pickens against Atlanta. For this one right here, for Isaiah Pacheco against Cincinnati or George Pickens against Atlanta, George Pickens has gotten a good amount of work in the receiving game, especially since Chase Claypool has been gone. And Atlanta's secondary is not great, to be honest with you. They're not great at all. When it comes to Isaiah Pacheco, these last couple of weeks, he has definitely taken sort of that RB1 status. He's been averaging, I believe, 18 carries per game with like 90 yards. He's been very involved. And when it comes to Cincinnati's run defense, they are ranked 13th in the NFL right now. So currently middle of the pack run defense. And I just like this. I love this Kansas City offense a lot more than I like the Steelers offense, obviously. I don't know what they're really doing over there in Pittsburgh. But I'm going to go with Isaiah Pacheco. He also dominated in red zone touches too, I believe. Out of like 20 plays, he got 12 of those touches. So he's absolutely dominating in terms of that usage right there. Now, we are on to the tight end section of this. We got Mr. Tyler Conklin against Minnesota or Juwan Johnson against Tampa Bay. Tyler Conklin. Actually, I'm not sure how well Tyler Conklin did this past week for the Jets. We're going to take a look. Okay, yeah, so taking a look at last week, Tyler Conklin, 3 catches, 50 yards off of 3 targets. Obviously with Mike White at quarterback, who has been amazing. I think he might be more than just a flash in the pan, to be honest with you. He showed out last year. He's showing out again this year. Unless it's like a Fitzmagic type of situation, I think Mike White might be the quarterback they roll forward with, but that all stands to be seen. We got Tyler Conklin against Minnesota, whose pass defense has not been amazing this year. We got Juwan Johnson against Tampa Bay, who Juwan Johnson has been doing really, really well as of late. I don't think he did too great last week, to be honest with you. Yeah, Juwan Johnson didn't log a single catch last week, but again, that was against a very stingy 49ers defense. I don't think Tampa Bay's defense is this good. So I'm going to go with Juwan Johnson. It's tough for me to trust Tyler Conklin because I've only seen him do it a couple of times, and even then, I feel like they've been outlier situations, whereas Juwan Johnson has been consistently and steadily sort of performing. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Juwan Johnson against Tampa Bay. And then the next matchup, we got Gerald Everett against Las Vegas, or we got Cole Kmet against Green Bay. Now, I like Cole Kmet a good bit. I think he's only going to really be super viable if Justin Fields is back there at quarterback. Gerald Everett has been involved this entire year. He's starting to come back off of these injuries, and I think he's starting to get back to full health against Las Vegas, who has not been a good defense either. Green Bay's defense has been a little bit better. They've been on sort of a upswing, I guess, for lack of better words, even though last week was kind of a shit show. I'm going to go with Gerald Everett against Las Vegas. I trust that game script more than I trust what this Green Bay Bears game could look like. As you know, Aaron Rodgers, owner of the Bears. I'm not sure how this could go in terms of just what even this game looks like. So I'm going to go with Gerald Everett against Las Vegas. While I do say Cole Kmet does have a very high ceiling. He could end up blowing up. He could catch 2 touchdowns, and I look stupid next week. But when it comes to these two right here, and if I got to pick between the two of them, I'm going to go with Gerald Everett against Las Vegas. But if you got Cole Kmet and you don't have a better tight end option like Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, I would probably start Cole Kmet. You know what I'm saying? Unless you literally have the choice between these two. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you guys do all that great YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Helps us out in the algorithm. Helps get us out there. Check our stuff out in the description. You'll find links to our Twitters. You'll find links to our TikTok. We do a lot of short form content over there, as well as some spin the wheel challenges, stuff like that, which Actually, I'm not sure if we're doing this week, but I guess I'll keep you guys updated on that as we go along. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, we love you. Thank you. And you guys have a great week. Peace.